Same script seems to be playing out. Just days before a session of Parliament, the Adani Group finds itself on the wrong end of allegations of corruption. If it was shadowy short seller Hindenburg the last time, it is the US Department of Justice, no less, this time. Like last time, expect the winter session to be washed out completely, as this story not only dominates the headlines but also the political cycle in the weeks ahead. The session was expecting to see a lot of significant legislative activity with the tabling of the Waqf Amendment Bill and the One Nation, One Poll Bill. But viewers, the Department of Justice, the US authority that President-designate Donald Trump has accused of going rogue under Biden's watch, has issued a 5-count indictment against the chairman of the Adani Group, his nephew Sagar Adani, and several of his business associates. The charges include promising more than $250 million in bribes to Indian government officials to secure solar energy contracts, conspiracies to commit securities and wire fraud, and orchestrating, quote, a multi-billion-dollar scheme, unquote, to defraud US investors and global financial institutions by giving, quote, false and misleading statements, unquote. It is for this reason that the DOJ believes it has jurisdiction over what are allegations of bribery in India. And it is this reason why the DOJ is looking to question Gautam Adani, and there are some reports, according to Reuters, that even suggest that warrants for his arrest are out. Let me very quickly, viewers, break down what this particular charge is against Adani. Gautam Adani and several others are accused of conspiring to pay bribes. The accusation is that Adani and his inner circle paid 250 million bribes to secure lucrative government contracts. The bribery scheme, quote unquote, orchestrated for Adani Green and Azure Power, which are of course two companies. The violation of anti-fraud provisions of federal securities and laws. This is in relation to US federal securities and laws. Bribes were part of a scheme allegedly to influence the September 2021 bond offering. US investors have been defrauded allegedly by false statements about bribery, and the materials presented to US investors were misleading in nature. And it is for this reason, viewers, that the US has jumped into what would really have been, if these allegations were true, bribes paid by Gautam Adani to various state governments in India. The indictment was unsealed by the US Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of New York late on November 20th, 2024, around 3 in the morning. According to the US DOJ indictment, some conspirators referred privately to Gautam Adani with the code names, quote, numero uno, unquote, and, quote, the big man, unquote, while Sagar Adani, his nephew, allegedly used his cell phone to track specifics about the bribes. This is the kind of detailing that has gone into the DOJ's report. While Hindenburg's January 2023 report sparked an approximately $150 billion meltdown in Adani Group stocks, the DOJ indictment has also caused a 2.2 lakh crore meltdown on Dalal Street. The DOJ says that the charges are allegations and the defendants are presumed innocent unless proven guilty. This, of course, viewers, is the coda of law. So they are only charges, and there has to be, of course, a trial. Now, viewers, here is how the alleged bribe trail plays out, and this is very, very interesting because you will realize that what you know is perhaps, just from reading the headline, is perhaps not quite the story. There's a lot going on behind the headlines. First, viewers, between 2020 and 2024, payments of more than $250 million allegedly made to Indian government officials to obtain lucrative contracts in the solar power sector. Contracts were expected to generate more than $2 billion in profits after tax over an approximately 20-year period. Between July 2021 and February 2022, now this is very important, this timeline, electricity distribution companies in Jammu and Kashmir, which was under, as you know, at that time, President's rule, Odisha, which was under the BJD, Naveen Patnaik's chief ministership, Tamil Nadu, that had just seen the DMK under Stalin and the Congress in alliance take power, Chhattisgarh, where Mr. Baghel, Congress government was in power, and in Andhra Pradesh, where Jagan Reddy was in power. All these states entered into PSAs with the SECI, which is, of course, viewers, the main union government department, the Union Government of India's department, that had taken aboard players like Adani Green with the intent of finding markets in India to retail power. The US indictment mentions a large chunk of the bribes paid by Gautam Adani, and he said that we went to quote foreign official number one, unquote, an unnamed high-ranking Andhra Pradesh government official. Now viewers, many in the political establishment are saying that the only person who could have been called official number one in Andhra Pradesh would have been the chief minister. Of course, there is no confirmation of this. This is now a mystery which only perhaps Mr. Adani could answer. But there is evidence to suggest that Mr. Adani did meet Jagan Reddy on two dates that have been specified in the indictment. Now, what happened there, of course, only they can tell us, viewers. The defendants allegedly frequently discussed their efforts in the furtherance of the alleged bribery scheme, including through an electronic messaging application. This is all that constituted this scheme, quote unquote scheme. I'm not saying it, the DOJ has alleged this. And of course, the DOJ says that the charges are all allegations, not to be confused with any charge sheet or any formal investigation that might have resulted in some kind of case, police case. No, none of that. These are charges which are allegations. And the DOJ in its own report says that the defendants are presumed innocent unless proven guilty. The Adani Group has denied the allegations, calling them, quote, baseless, unquote. Here is a little bit from excerpt from the Adani Group statement. Allegations made by the US Department of Justice and US Securities and Exchange Commission are baseless and denied. All possible legal recourse will be sought. The Adani Group is committed to maintaining the highest standards of governance, transparency. The Adani Group is committed to regulatory compliance across all jurisdictions of its operations. A law-abiding organization fully compliant with all laws. This is what the statement says. So it's a complete rejection of every possible allegation that has been made by the DOJ. As was to be expected, the Congress led the charge against Gautam Adani, with Rahul Gandhi demanding his immediate arrest at a high-powered press conference he called this morning at noon. But strangely, Rahul Gandhi remained elusive about the indictment, mentioning that bribes were paid to two India bloc state governments in Chhattisgarh and Tamil Nadu. One of them, of course, viewers, was a government run exclusively by the Congress party. The other, Tamil Nadu, of course, is where the Congress is in alliance. It's part of the government, DMK. In fact, when TV 18 and our journalist confronted Gandhi on these questions, he lost his cool and accused our reporter of pursuing the BJP's agenda. Listen to this, viewers.
भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने तीन सवाल खड़े किए हैं जो आपके सामने मैं रखता हूं। एक ये कि अभी तक ये एलिगेशन है, आरोप प्रूफ नहीं हुआ है, दोषी नहीं हुआ है। दूसरा, आपने खुद कह दिया कि 4 जो ऑपोजिशन स्टेट को पैसे दिए गए, बीजेपी ने यह भी कहा, उस पर क्या कार्रवाई होगी, क्या कार्रवाई करेंगे, आपने इसका जवाब तो दे दिया। और तीसरा, उन्होंने सवाल यह खड़ा किया है कि क्योंकि संसद का सत्र आने वाला है, 20 जनवरी को डोनाल्ड ट्रंप आने वाले हैं, इसकी टाइमिंग को लेकर भी सवाल खड़े हो रहे हैं।
क्या
ये जो अमेरिका से जो
अमेरिका ने इन्वेस्टिगेशन
जो बीजेपी ने कहा वो मैं आपके सामने रख रहा हूं। तो ये 3 सवाल है, एक का जवाब आपने दे दिया है कि कोई भी राज्य हो उस पर कार्रवाई हो, बाकी 2 के जवाब।
तो आप बीजेपी के सवाल यहां क्यों रख रहे हो?
नहीं, ये सवाल हमारा है।
नहीं, आप बीजेपी के हो क्या?
नहीं, बिल्कुल नहीं हूं।
तो फिर बीजेपी के सवाल हमारे प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस में क्यों रख रहे हो?
राहुल जी, मैं आपके सामने सवाल कर रहा हूं, एक जर्नलिस्ट का सवाल है। और आप
नहीं, अभी आपने बोला बीजेपी का
सवाल है, बीजेपी के समक्ष हम लोग ऐसे ही रखते हैं।
नहीं,
बार-बार
नहीं, देखिए,
आप
मुझे बोले दीजिए,
मेरे सवाल का जवाब दीजिए।
आपने सवाल पूछा, मैं बोल रहा हूं, आपका जवाब, आपका सवाल का
जवाब। ये मेरा सवाल है, बीजेपी का नहीं, मेरा सवाल।
नहीं, आपने अभी 2 मिनट पहले कहा कि ये बीजेपी के सवाल हैं। आपने ही स्वयं,
यस,
ब्रदर, आपने स्वयं बोला
बीजेपी ने इसको रखा है सामने, इस मसले पे मैंने ये कहा है।
नहीं, आपने बोला ये बीजेपी के सवाल हैं और मैं पूछ रहा हूं। आई नो, बट आई एम जस्ट स्टेटिंग अ फैक्ट। ही सेड दैट दे आर बीजेपी's questions. It's interesting to me that the media is asking BJP's questions to the opposition.
Because there was no real clarity from Rahul Gandhi on the specific questions that were posed about the fact that if, in fact, he alleges that Modi and Adani are in some sort of a collusive relationship, then how is it that according to the DOJ, Adani was paying a Congress government, a Congress coalition government, and 2 other opposition governments, including, of course, and I'm not in any way, viewers, ignoring that 5th state or 5th territory, which is Jammu and Kashmir, which is under president's rule. We didn't get an answer. The BJP was, of course, in a super defiant mood and went after Rahul Gandhi, accusing him of hypocrisy. The BJP asked if Modi was in collusion with Adani, then how was it that the alleged bribes were being paid to Congress-ruled state governments and others in the opposition and not even one BJP-ruled state? Or if Adani was such a crony, what was an unnamed official number 1 of the Telangana government doing signing deals with the businessman? Listening to the BJP.
यूएस और भारत, इन दोनों के बीच इलेक्ट्रिसिटी का लेन देन, 2 कंपनियां हैं, एक भारत की कंपनी है, एक यूएस की कंपनी है, और भारत के 4 राज्य हैं। छत्तीसगढ़ की सरकार, छत्तीसगढ़ में किसकी सरकार थी? कांग्रेस पार्टी की, भूपेश बघेल जी की सरकार छत्तीसगढ़ में उस समय मौजूद थी, डॉक्यूमेंट्स में भी मौजूद है। उस समय आंध्र प्रदेश में, जहां सबसे ज्यादा लेन देन के विषय में चर्चा हुई, दीज आर ऑल एलिगेशंस, उस समय तमिलनाडु में, क्योंकि तमिलनाडु का नाम भी इसमें आता है, उनके स्टेट डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन कंपनी का नाम आता है, किसकी सरकार थी? डीएमके, आपके सहयोगी स्टालिन जी की सरकार थी, डीएमके की सरकार थी। उस समय उड़ीसा में किसकी सरकार थी? बीजेडी की सरकार थी। तो स्वाभाविक रूप से ये चारों राज्य जिसका जिक्र डॉक्यूमेंटेशन में सामने आया है, यूएस में सामने आया है, उन चारों राज्य में ना तो हमारे मुख्यमंत्री थे और ना ही हमारी समर्थित सरकार थी, कांग्रेस और उनके सहायक दलों की सरकार थी। राहुल जी, कान खोल के सुन लीजिए, ये मोदी जी की क्रेडिबिलिटी को समाप्त करने की चेष्टा और कोशिश कोई आप पहली बार नहीं कर रहे हैं।
Now, other BJP spokespeople, viewers, have gone out and built on the narrative that was put out by Sambit Patra, saying that the real story lies elsewhere. That is, it's rooted in a conspiracy to shake global investor confidence in India's growth story, the markets and Indian companies. As we speak, the Kenyan government has cancelled proposed deals with the Adani Group. That the Indian deep state, the BJP is saying, is leading this American deep state is leading this underground agenda in cahoots with the likes of George Soros, who has made it his mission to go after Modi, and of course his dislike for Modi is in the public domain. The way this is being put across is through lawfare, according to the BJP. So how far is this true? Now there are some facts, viewers, that seem to suggest that there might be there might be at least some individuals in the DOJ that are close to George Soros. Now, whether that has an impact really on the investigations, I can't say, but sources point to a tweet by Donald Trump accusing the Democrats of trying to stack the US courts with radical left judges on their way out. How this applies to the current situation, I can't say, viewers, but let me give you a few facts. Judge Breon Peace, who wrote this particular indictment, indicted Adani in this bribery case. Peace has been serving as the US Attorney for Eastern District of New York since October 2021. So, roughly now 3 years. Peace was recommended for the post by New York Senator Schumer. George Soros, very interesting, viewers, has donated $16 million to Schumer's PAC, which is the Political Action Committee, which most senators have or politicians in America have, so that they can use money from donors to bankroll, of course, their elections, etc., etc. Of course, all this is in the realm of conjectures. But it is interesting when you connect the dots that it somehow links back to George Soros, and that's really what the BJP is getting at. Now, while it all might be in the realm of conjectures, recall that after the first Hindenburg report against Adani, it was George Soros who went after the businessman and the Prime Minister Modi. But to sum it all up, there are some questions. Would the India bloc welcome the Enforcement Directorate or any other central agency, even Parliament, a parliamentary committee, summoning Bhupesh Baghel, Stalin, or would they call it witch hunting? If the Congress is willing to bet their house on indictments by a foreign department, would it accept guilt in the Augusta Westland matter that erupted in an Italian court? Why is the Congress still accepting Adani investments if he is corrupt? Wouldn't that amount to furthering his interests? These are some questions. Why has Trump put the attorney in Adani's case on the list of Biden-era officials he wants to sack? These are questions, viewers, that we must take into account. India is getting much more influential. Its companies are bidding for contracts internationally. They will grate up against other established majors, American companies, German companies, Japanese, Chinese companies. And in the murky world, viewers, of corporate, I won't call it espionage, but corporate competitiveness, things can happen. Things can happen. A narrative can be built up. From Australia to Kenya to the United States. Already, Adani has had to cancel some of his listings, which means that his stocks will take a further hammering. We don't know if they will recover. They did after the Hindenburg incident, but viewers, this matter could stretch on, and it will be a bit of a diplomatic challenge for Prime Minister Modi to try and paper over all of this with Trump. That is if, viewers, he's inclined to do so. At this moment in time, the government hasn't come out in the defense of Adani. They've only asked political questions of the Congress, saying, hey, how is it that Adani allegedly was bribing Congress governments or opposition chief ministers? Viewers, let's move on. This is a story, it's going to dominate, and we'll have to sort of revisit it from time to time. It will be the central story in Parliament. But viewers, moving on to another big story, and that's a story that's going to unfold on Saturday. If the MVA led by the Congress thought that they were going to repeat the heroics of Lok Sabha polls earlier this year in Maharashtra, they have reason to think again. This is because in May, June, when Maharashtra voted in the general elections, the turnout was low, and many in the India bloc were happy because they said that the BJP had not been able to get out the vote. Now, 4 months later, the reverse has happened. Maharashtra has posted its best turnout in 30 years. Even Mumbaikars have shown greater enthusiasm than before. The bump in turnout, and I can put those numbers on the screens, viewers, has brought cheer to the BJP-led Mahayuti or the NDA. BJP managers have put it down to 3 reasons: the efforts of the RSS, the efficacy of the PM's message, and a consolidation of awakened Hindu voters who are rejecting the MVA's excessive Muslim appeasement politics. Let's put those numbers out, Director Saab. Let's put them out. Those are the turnout figures, viewers. And for the first time in 30 years, the turnout in Maharashtra has gone that far up. As I said, this means more voters have come. And because, viewers, in the Lok Sabha, the turnout was depressed and many people said that BJP's voters hadn't come out. One can assume that this bump up means that more BJP voters have come out. One can only assume that because that's what the narrative was. And this could be one reason why almost all exit polls seem to favor the NDA, some more than others. Breaking news also coming in that My Axis India poll is showing a runaway victory. In fact, if the numbers of Axis My India were to be put out there, it appears that the BJP and the Shinde Sena alone will form the government. They don't even need Ajit Pawar. But those are the numbers and they're there on your screens. We were showing some of them to you yesterday. Of course, viewers, one must remember that a large number of these exit polls have been wrong and they're unreliable, and it isn't a good idea to second guess voters. But the high turnout does prompt some questions. Has PM's message and RSS outreach brought out BJP voters that didn't show in 2024 Lok Sabha? Have Hindus voted as one in the face of MVA's open appeasement to court Muslims en bloc? The jump in rural vote sign of counter OBC consolidation against MVA's Maratha outreach. Let's open and debate this, viewers. This is going to be an interesting conversation because these turnout numbers are throwing a lot of calculations out of the window. Let me bring in someone who knows Maharashtra very well, Tehseen Poonawala, so represents the Congress point of view on this show. You've been very gung-ho. You were also very gung-ho, I remember, ahead of the Haryana election, saying that the BJP would, the Congress would get 70 seats, the BJP would be decimated. Here, of course, the polls are going against what you were saying 2 days back on this channel. Now, Tehseen Poonawala, can I ask you a very straightforward question? Has the voter come out, the BJP voter, in larger numbers because they have realized that there was credibility in the Prime Minister's message? You have accused the Prime Minister of being extremely loose with his language. You have accused him of being I don't know if it's right or wrong, that, Karan can weigh in on that, but you have said that he was incendiary, etc., etc. But he based his observations on some facts, the fact that a large number of your colleagues were seen fraternizing with hardline Islamists that didn't even respect the Indian Constitution in letter and spirit. Has that resulted now in the voter believing that the Prime Minister was right?
Rahul, good evening. Thank you for having me on the show. Good evening to all my fellow panelists and to all your viewers. It wasn't just me who opposed what the Honorable Prime Minister, Honorable Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh said. It was also his own colleagues from his party, Pankaja Munde ji, Nitin Gadkari ji, and even his colleague, the Chakki pursuing Ajit Pawar ji, who said such language is not appropriate for Maharashtra, and they continue to stand by that. Secondly, I think this is very important to know what's gone up, what vote percentage has gone out, who's gotten the voters to come. We'll only get to know 2 days later. Like you said, these exit polls are no longer as credible as they used to be. But I firmly believe that this was an opportunity, particularly for the Congress NCP to win the elections, and they could have formed a government. Now, who's come out to vote, what has happened, we'll see, but the Congress and the NCP definitely went in there with some sort of an advantage, looking at the Lok Sabha pattern. And I firmly believe even now that the single largest party in this whole khichdi will be the Congress party, followed by the NCP and the Shiv Sena Uddhav Thackeray. So the MVA will get a clear-cut majority. I do think they'll cross about 150, 155. I do see that happen.
Ms. Shah wants to come in, but just 1 second before I bring you in, Ms. Shah, Tehseen Poonawala, I just want you to know that Nitin Gadkari has actually come out and said he was misquoted. He's reiterated his support for the Prime Minister's views, saying,
but the Chief Ministers.
No, 1 second. That's settled. But I just want you to say one thing to me. If 400 par was rejected, according to all of you, and if these exit polls hold, for a moment, let's suspend belief, and the result does come in the favor of the Mahayuti or the NDA, would you say that it was the PM's credible message, "Ek hain to safe hain," that resonated, and that perhaps your opportunism, the MVA's opportunism, its one-sided partiality, its butchery of the secular outlook of the Constitution has been rejected?
No, on the contrary, the BJP's manipulation of trying to project that the MBA was pro-Muslims has
How is it
perhaps
not?
worked. Because,
you have come out and batted.
No.
The entire MVA has come out and batted.
That's
Supriya
not true.
Sule is on record saying every member of the MVA bats for a Muslim quota, which is illegal.
Oh, did she say only Muslim?
No, I mean she said.
No. She
but
said
it's
that
the
based
Muslim
on,
quota.
she
It's the
said that
religious.
based on backwardness
No,
for
one
other
second.
castes.
No,
Why
nothing
are you
like.
not quoting the
No,
Dangar
she said
community?
Bhangar. She said,
Exactly.
but she
You
said
are not
Muslims
quoting.
is
You
separate.
only
No,
quote
please,
Muslim.
please. She
Please,
talked
Rahul,
about
Rahul,
Muslims
please.
in isolation of the other
No, what
communities,
is the Muslim
and the
in
Prime Minister
isolation?
then,
Is
of
the
course,
Muslim in
she said it. You
isolation?
look at
She
the
knows.
syntax
She
of
said
that
it.
statement.
Even in that
No,
statement,
please,
she's
please,
named other
please. No,
communities.
I'll bring it
ask you a
up.
question.
I'll bring it
Rahul,
up.
may I ask you?
I'll bring it up.
Just 10 seconds,
Yeah.
Rahul, may. Isn't it surprising, and you're very, very experienced, and you, of course, are very sharp. Isn't it amazing that some Maulana from Uttar Pradesh lands up in Maharashtra, gives a polarizing statement, the same Maulana who said that Modi ji and Amit Shah ji is brothers. You have these letters from Yasin Malik's wife to Rahul Gandhi. Rahul Gandhi still not got it, but BJP spokespersons have it. You have these ulemas making these demands which the MBA never agrees to. Letters written months in advance that come up 2 or 3 days before the polling. Because those who said katenge to batenge had to resort to batenge to jeetenge.
Now, I just want to again, viewers, a fact check here. Mr. Nomani, who was the AIMPLB national spokesperson.
Who endorsed Taliban.
One second. Who endorsed Taliban? Ghazwa
And
Hind.
Mo-
No,
and
one
Modi
second.
ji.
And
And
horrible.
Amit Shah
And
ji.
one second. And some horrible other anti-India forces. Yeah, I'll just bring you in. 1 second, Karan. Just 1 second. Nomani was blessing, viewers, the Sharad Pawar candidate and his wife, Swara Bhaskar, and you just have to put on that speech of Swara Bhaskar, and I don't think, Tehseen, a few days back at least you found that to be
I still
extreme.
find it to be horrendous.
Yeah. So
Mr.
how are you
Bhaskar
saying
and
that?
Miss
So
Bhaskar,
how are you saying? No, one
Mr.
second.
Bhaskar and Mrs. Bhaskar
Mr.
chose to go.
Mr. Ahmed and Miss
Sorry,
Bhaskar.
Mr. Ahmed and his wife
Yeah.
chose to go to this particular Maulana on
Yeah.
their own accord. It wasn't
There it
Sharad
is.
Pawar
Those are the
NCP.
photos. And then, viewers, it wasn't just him. Nana Patole writes a letter to the Ulema board. The Ulema board puts it out, saying, we go with all your 14 demands, and each one of them, viewers, is borrowed straight from whose playbook? Jinnah, the father of India's partition.
Nana Patole wrote to them that we will see what fits within the law. They meet
Please,
17.
please,
he
that
said
statement,
14 we will
that
go.
statement
I
is
read
out
that
there. That
letter.
statement is out there. Okay. Let me
Where
bring
is
in
the
the Shinde faction. I also want to bring in Clyde Crasto because he needs to respond also to what some of his leaders in the Sharad Pawar faction of the NCP was doing with Nomani and company.
Mr. Bhaskar is actually from the
one
SP,
second,
not
one second,
from,
one second.
not from NCP.
No, 1 second, 1 second. Yeah. Yes. So Shane Shah, go ahead.
Should I go ahead?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I'll tell you this. Good evening to all and thank you for having me on your show. As far as the voting is concerned, you can be rest assured that the Mahashakti, the Sri Shakti, the Adai, Abadi, to what you already narrated, have voted in favor of the Mahayuti. Mahayuti has got a smile on the women's faces. They have demonstrated immense political will to ensure that our women get the Sanman Dhan and Man Dhan that they deserve as pillars of the society, running the family, and being maybe the main breadwinner of the family. But no one has recognized them. It is the Mahayuti Sarkar, ably led by our CM, that we have recognized this Mahashakti and Sri Shakti. Now coming back to the brazen demands of the ulemas, I'm surprised at Mr. Poonawalla. They are so unconstitutional, they are so unbecoming that it should have been rejected at the outset. Where is the question of considering it? They are anti-nationals in the true sense of the word. Why? What would it take for the Patoles and Mahavinash Aghadi to reject it? They have not rejected it. It is you who are talking katoge to batoge. We do believe the साथ रहेंगे, safe रहेंगे और नेक रहेंगे. और साथ कौन रहेंगे? जरूर. The Hindus together, the OBCs together, the scheduled tribes and scheduled castes together. Because each scheduled caste and tribes have various castes and subcastes. Similarly with OBC. So therefore, we as one have to remain united.
Okay.
I mean, what is wrong in that?
Okay, what is wrong?
in that?
Clyde Crasto and and Mr. Verma come in now, and I want to come out to Dr. Raman right after that, because I want to get his assessment on turnout and what that could mean. But first, let me bring in Clyde Crasto and Mr. Verma. Now, Clyde Crasto, if the NDA wins, if the Mahayuti wins, of course, you wouldn't want that, but if it were to happen, how should we view this? Will it be a rejection of Rahul Gandhi's hypocrisy on the constitution that was exposed not by anyone else, but by the rather strange behavior of some of your own candidates in the MVA?
To you. First of all, Mahayuti is not going to win. Secondly, if for some reason, the Mahavikas Agadi does not cross the line, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
For some reason, like you said, I like the word that you used right at the beginning when you started. You said assume. People can assume. People can assume that who came out to vote. People can assume who's going to win. But if that assumption comes true, then why should you blame one particular individual? We worked as a team. And if we lost, we'll lose as a team. It is the people of Maharashtra who have decided. So let them take a decision. We'll go by what they decide. We'll respect that decision.
No, I'll tell you why. Look, I'm not blaming any individual. I am saying that it's your message that was rejected, and the hypocrisy over the constitution, which you chose to actually shred to pieces according to the BJP, by hobnobbing with individuals who share nothing in common with the outlook of the constitution. Would you accept that, sir?
No, I'll tell you something, Rahul. If the point here is there are people from the Bharatiya Janata Party also who have gone and hobnobbed with people they should not hobnob. The Honorable Prime Minister also went to Pakistan to wish happy birthday.
Come on.
So who was he representing?
That's not banned by the constitution.
You have to accept
that is not
it.
barred by the
Now,
constitution.
No, 1 minute, Rahul.
Is it barred by the
If you want to
constitution?
hear what, no, 1 minute, 1 minute. If you want to hear what you like to hear, then let me also talk, because I also don't like certain questions you raise. I'm not stopping you. You have the right to speak. I have the right to speak. So let me speak also. Point here is certain individuals have done certain things. We are not happy about it. That will be spoken about. But the point here is, here we are talking about the people of Maharashtra voting. Let them decide. They've already decided. And whatever decision they take, either the Mahayuti or the Mahavikas Agadi, we have to respect it. At the end of the day, it is their vote. They have decided, and that's what we'll go by.
So, Mr. Crasto, let me ask you a follow-up, and I want to bring in Mr. Verma right after that. If you lose on Saturday, what is the message from the voter? What will you come away saying, okay, we'll try, better luck next time, 5 years down the line? Or will you say, actually, maybe the voter is telling us, we don't believe you. When you say that you are securing and safeguarding the constitution, we don't believe you. There's no credibility.
So the point here is, Rahul, you have made up this thing. You are asking me this question. How do you know the people of Maharashtra are going to reject us because of that particular thing that you're saying?
I'm only asking.
I'm also telling you what you are saying one part. One second, Rahul. I don't want to fight with you.
No, I'm
you
not
are saying one
either.
part. Yeah. So there's one part. I'm telling you that your line could be one of the points in the many lists that they rejected. So I'll take your point also, and you take my points also. At the same time, if the Mahayuti is rejected, there could be a whole list of reasons why they rejected the Mahayuti. So it's fair for both sides. Let the people of Maharashtra decide. I mean, you saying that they have rejected for a particular reason is not the only reason.
Okay.
There could be rejection on both sides for various reasons.
Karan Verma, if the lead campaigner for the NDA, Mr. Modi, makes that election about one slogan, and Rahul Gandhi in response, who's the lead campaigner for the MVA, makes it about one slogan, which is the constitution and who can actually safeguard that constitution, then the election really is about two issues. Or am I making things up? Or have I got up, from the wrong side of my bed?
No, Rahul, you're absolutely bang on. I'll just give it some perspective, and I think Tehseen will agree with me on this. Back in June, everybody thought that Congress is in the driver's seat. The Mahavikas Agadi is in the driver's seat. And they just blew it away, to be honest. If they lose, and I think they are going to lose now, given the numbers and the voter turnout, I think they have themselves to blame. They shot themselves in the foot completely. And there were so many issues, Rahul, to be very honest. The grocery prices did go up in the last 1 month, just prior to the elections. The soya bean farmers, yes, there was disenchantment. That's a fact. But the BJP from June till November, they course corrected, which is the difference between the Narendra Modi political acumen and the Rahul Gandhi political acumen. He kept tom-tomming about constitution or some stupid issue one after the other and made a complete mess. And by the end of it, they were going to Maulanas and Maulvis and Ulemas and seeking their blessings. And that is where the Modi message of Ek hai to safe hai came across as a glimmer of hope.
No, one second.
That is a stark contrast.
Just one second. The soybean was procured a couple of days ago. To procure the soybean was a couple of days ago. No MBA leader went to Maulana except for Mr. Bhaskar. Nobody else went to any Maulana. Some people wrote some letters.
Of course.
Some people wrote some letters.
Samajwadi Party leader went. Did he not meet a hate? Did he not meet?
Can Ms. Shah or can Karan show me this 14-point, 17-point demand, which is fictional? Some said ban RSS, some said this. These were all fictional. There were 3 or 4 demands, one including salaries to the Maulanas, which the BJP...
So why didn't you reject it? Why didn't you say that we reject these demands?
Because you will first come to power and work according to the Constitution.
Wow. Fake narrative. So the fake narrative you don't want to buy.
As per my friend Karan. Stupid issue of protecting the Constitution.
Okay, Karan Verma needs to respond. 1 second, Ms. Shah. Karan Verma needs to respond. Yes, and I want to bring in Dr. Raman. He's also
here on this.
How long ago
was the soybean?
Let him respond. Let him respond.
You know, Tehseen,
Mr. Verma.
No, 1 second. Sure. Tehseen, I said this, soybean was an issue, but you failed to raise it. And as far as going to the Maulana is concerned, why did Nana Patole write them a letter? As Rahul just pointed out, why did he not say that these demands are illegitimate, they cannot happen? Why did he say, I will consider? What did they do with Muslim reservation in Karnataka? They gave a blanket reservation to Muslims.
No blanket
all
reservation.
80 lakh included
Of course,
in OBC.
no.
So your
How can you
actions
deny
really
it?
speak volumes about what you're wanting to do here.
They've given
What
you-
did
Sir,
Supriya
आप
Sule
अपने
say?
facts
We will
invent
go
कर रहे हो.
through what is consideration in
Hard
this?
facts and soft
You will
facts.
go the
viewers.
Karnataka model,
यहाँ
that's what
soft
you're going to
facts
do.
है, यहाँ hard facts है. I mean, come on, you can't
Who
live in a
increased
parallel
the- who
universe. 1
increases
second,
the-
Dr.
Who
Raman.
increased the salaries of the Maulanas and those in the madrasas? The BJP government.
I am not here
I
to say
concede
that.
Eknath Shinde ji was popular. I'm not taking that away. Beyond that, it is the MBA's game.
Okay. Dr. Raman, I have to ask you this question. Look, I remember being on this show with you in the last legs of the 2024 Lok Sabha election. You will remember that very clearly. And you said that, look, a depressed turnout is bad news. And, you know, we all at our peril disagreed with you. If you remember this, in fact, you even tweeted to say, look, what is the election commission doing? It's artificially boosting numbers, this, that, the other. But the fact is that people didn't really come out, etc., etc. And that means that fundamentally Modi is finished. He's gone. Or he will not get the majority that he is hoping. And you were one of the people who was absolutely right from day one, even when the exit poll came out. So I have to concede there. Now, the turnout, I'm not looking at exit poll, Dr. Raman, seems to suggest that turnout is a record turnout this time. Overall assembly elections, 30 years, 3 decades. Will you continue to say that, oh, this is also now counterintuitively going against the NDA?
No, Rahul, first of all, I will not go by the exit polls. Of course, by law of averages, they have to get some election right because of the disastrous track record they've had recently, both with the general election and with the Haryana elections. I think by law of averages, you know, even by flipping a coin, 1 in 4 or 3 or 4 elections, they have to get it right. So I would not put it past them for being right on this occasion. But having said that, look, this is such a difficult election to call, which is why I'm so surprised that the pollsters have, you know, at least some of them have gone as far as predicting 170 to 200 seats and so on for Mahayuti. So I'm not clearly sure where or how they have been able to sort of come up with such predictions. They could be right, but my point is I don't think that this was a one-issue election. Somebody going and visiting a Maulana, somebody doing appeasement politics and so on. I don't think this election is ever, I don't think even, you know, most elections are never decided on a single issue. They are decided on a phalanx of issues, and I don't see Maharashtra as being any different. Having said that, I still believe that this could be a tight race. The difference is, if you ask me who will form the government, I would probably go with the BJP. If you ask me who would win the election, I would say I don't know. You know, I think that there is a clear difference between the two. And that is what has happened over the last few years. that the BJP has very successfully managed to create this divide between actually winning an election and forming the government. So, like I've maintained this, Rahul, even if the Mahayuti ends up with 110 or 120 seats, they are favorites to form a government. Make no mistake about it.
That I
No, Dr. Raman.
That is my point. That is my
Raman,
point.
No, 1 second. Now everyone will say because they have Amit Shah, so they think
No,
they
no,
can
the-
do it.
they have a
Come on.
Tamil Nadu
hang on,
connection as well.
just a minute,
They have a Tamil Nadu
please.
connection as
please,
well.
please. I mean, this is now, you see, Dr. Raman, you said that there is nothing called a single point election. But I remember you being there and you saying after the 2024 Lok Sabha, and Karan will also remember this, that hubris, that 400 will allow Modi to change the constitution, that he is some sort of demigod, is the reason. You said it.
That was one of the reasons. I never ever said that there is one reason for the BJP not
Memory,
to be. And this is
short-term
all
memory.
out there, Rahul. No short-term memory. Everything is recorded on Twitter. You can go and look at it.
Okay.
And by the way, I said 240 to 265 and the BJP ended up with 240.
Okay,
So,
Karan
there you
Verma,
go.
do you buy this argument that, look, this will be once again one of those elections where the losing side will say no, collective responsibility, not about one leader or that person's imprimatur. I mean, you make up your mind. And this I have to ask the MVA. Make up your mind. Is Sharad Pawar the linchpin around which this entire election strategy was built? Yes or no? If they say no, then viewers, they are misleading you. Because he even decided at the end of the day, when it came down to
Rahul,
it, and broke the
don't
deadlock.
say that, Rahul. That's not that's not right. Rahul,
He never said that.
you don't tell the you don't tell the viewers that they are misleading you. That is a wrong statement.
Okay.
I'm not liking that
so
statement.
rattled?
Okay.
Don't tell the viewers.
This is a
that
hypothetical
he's
scenario. Don't
misleading.
get so rattled.
The point here is one second.
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
interjecting when you're talking.
No.
Yeah.
This
Point here
question
is-
was for me, by the way.
No,
This
one
question
second.
was for me.
Let Mr. Crasto come in. Yeah, make your point. What are you saying, Mr. Crasto? Because from what I have heard from your own ranks, that Sharad Pawar, in fact, Supriya Sule said it yesterday, that Sharad Pawar is the tallest leader. He is the
Yeah, so I'll answer that.
linchpin. So, I mean, I'm asking you, in case you lose, and again, it's a hypothetical, who takes
Yeah.
the blame? The whole scene will take the blame? Or will one
let me tell
person
you.
who was given this pride of place have to then take the blame?
Let me tell you one thing, Rahul. Now hear me out. I'm only objecting to your sentence where you're telling the viewers, that if this is the case, he's misleading. Don't give that statement. Point here is, yes, he's the tallest leader. He's the man that binds the Mahavikas Aghadi together. And if he is the one leader, if there is a defeat also, he's the first one to bring up the whole topic and say, yes, we've lost and I'm leading it. So don't mislead. You don't mislead the viewers.
Okay.
If something
Viewers?
happens, we will be taking it. But the point here is, let's talk about it on the
Can I make a
23rd, but
point?
don't mislead
Okay,
people. I
Karan
request.
Verma. Karan Verma wants to come in. It was for you the question originally in any case. Yes.
Yeah. You know, the fact that he says that Sharad Pawar was the tallest leader of the alliance is the problem itself. I mean, Congress was the single largest party, and I think Tehseen will agree with me on this. They were the single largest party. They ceded too much ground to Sharad Pawar and the others. So if anyone is to be blamed, it's the Congress party. Yes, Sharad Pawar, of course, he would be blamed because he took the reins in his hands. But why did the Congress and why did Rahul Gandhi, who is considered this, rejuvenated leader of the opposition, who's brought Congress back up, why did he not take up the mantle? Why did he not bargain for more seats for the Congress? That is the big question. They made a complete mess. It was hardly a coalition by the end of it. So
Even today,
all three
Mr.
of them are to be
Crasto,
blamed,
even
but Rahul
today,
Gandhi and Sharad Pawar lead the
even
pack.
today, Sanjay Raut and Nana Patole had a bit of a skirmish over who's going to be chief minister. I mean, the results are not in, but someone's already counting who's going to stake claim to the chief minister's post. Mr. Crasto, that doesn't bode very well for
No,
unity.
so what is the harm, Rahul? I don't understand, why getting rattled or anybody's getting rattled, but if individually they're talking there's freedom of speech, at least they're not saying that when I sit next to Ajit Pawar, I feel like vomiting or something like that, or Nalayak. They're not saying these things, They're speaking it aloud, so what's the harm?
Okay.
Speak it out. There's freedom of speech. Speak.
Okay, I'll tell you, viewers, there is one other possibility, and I think, Dr. Raman was alluding to it, but only from one side. Yes, a verdict might be delivered on Saturday in one side's favor. If it is not a very convincing verdict, in one side's favor. I don't know if all the people in those various alliances will stick together. There might be a lot of floor crossing, en masse. So we've already seen that happen 5 years ago, where the mandate was disrespected. The original winners, the NDA, split down the middle, went in different ways. People called it the stealing of the mandate, cheating of the electorate, whatever it is. Viewers, I'm not going down there, but this is a very fluid election, let me tell you. Forget the result. What happens after the result is also up for a certain amount of speculation. So I don't know if the matter will be sealed at 12:30 or 1 o'clock. By the trends, this might actually continue for a few more days. I need to move on, viewers, because internationally now, we might be, the world might be, holding its breath because we are being pushed closer to the edge of the nuclear precipice. A few days ago, Ukraine reportedly fired British-made, quote, Storm Shadow, unquote, missiles to strike military targets deep inside Russian territory, marking a significant escalation in the conflict that has now lasted 1,000 days. In fact, 1,000-day anniversary, so to speak, was marked a few days back. Now, Russia in retaliation reportedly launched an intercontinental ballistic missile, ICBM, on Ukraine, marking the first combat use of the weapon since its inception almost 6 decades ago. It hasn't happened in 60 years that any country on earth has fired an ICBM. Now, ICBMs, viewers, are not some small missiles to be trifled with. They can easily deliver major damage through very heavy nuclear payloads. Moreover, Moscow used the multiple independently targetable re-entry vehicles, the MIRV technology, to target, quote, critical infrastructure, unquote, in Ukraine's Dnipro, the first ever use of the technology too. So when the missile came in, it split into various shards, so to speak, viewers, these vehicles, and crashed into the target. Videos have surfaced on social media and you can see them, and Telegram handles showing warheads re-entering and targeting infrastructure in Ukraine. Russia has, quote, denied to comment, unquote, on the launch of the ICBMs, though Kiev has confirmed its use. The launch comes just a day after Putin signed off on changes to the nuclear doctrine. The changes in the doctrine say that an attack from a non-nuclear state, backed by a nuclear state, the allusion being, of course, viewers, to America, will be viewed by Russia as a joint attack on it. The change was necessitated after the United States, under Biden, who's lame duck and on the way out, allowed the Ukraine government to use long-range ATACMS missiles to strike deep into Russia. And this is what, viewers, has happened really. Ukraine decides to fire a bunch of missiles. Russia doesn't accept it, reportedly launches an intercontinental ballistic missile on Ukraine. It's the first combat use of the weapon since, I told you, in 6 decades. After the reported ICBM strike, Zelensky says Putin is using Ukraine as a testing ground. Ukraine reportedly fired British-made Storm Shadow missiles to strike military targets deep inside Russia. The US has allowed all of this, and it's Biden. I don't think Biden has actually the authority, having lost an election, to take such a significant call. But let's open this up. Brahma Chileni is here with us, and we also have a guest from the United States, Alex Dan. He's a Republican strategist. I want to first begin with you, Mr. Brahma Chileni, and I want to ask you this. Is the American, I don't know what to call it, the deep state maybe, I don't know. Is the American Biden establishment pushing us or pushing Ukraine and Russia into something that would not be good or the interest in humanity at large? Or is the deep state now completely in charge and Biden has nothing to do with it?
The fact that these steps to escalate the war were taken when Joe Biden was holidaying in the Amazon rainforest with his daughter and granddaughter indicates that the real forces behind these decisions are clearly the American deep state. In any case, why should a US president, a lame duck US president, who just months ago was forced out of the presidential race by his party because of his cognitive decline, at the fag end of his presidency, when the new president has been elected, he's supposed to take office on January 20th. Why should such a lame duck president be taking major decisions relating to war and peace? These are issues that affect the security of everyone, whether we live in India or in China or in Latin America. All of us are affected by these decisions. And therefore, it was quite, in my view, quite reckless for the Biden administration to take these decisions at this stage.
Alex, Dan, I want to bring you in. This is very serious. An ICBM used for the first time in 6 decades. Tomorrow it could be, I mean, look, Putin has already sort of lowered the nuclear threshold. This action by Biden, where he's given Ukraine a free hand to use missiles to target Russia deep in its territory, is pushing us towards a nuclear war. I'm asking you, is it going to become more and more difficult because of a vengeful attitude from Biden for Trump to step in and de-escalate this?
No, I don't think so at all. I have great confidence that President Trump will be able to de-escalate the situation when he enters office January 20th. In fact, President Trump wrote that famous book called The Art of the Deal. Yeah. President Trump can negotiate with just about anybody. He'll be able, when he comes in, to negotiate this war. And I think that these releases for the Ukrainians to use these missiles inside Russia, President Trump will look at them as another bargaining chip on the table. Would he prefer that Joe Biden waited until January 20th, took out his term with the old rules? Of course he would. But this is the reality right now that President Trump needs to face when he enters the White House on January 20th. I have confidence that he can use this escalation to de-escalate.
But Alex,
this is a situation.
For the rest of the world looking on, America is being led right now by a lame duck, but a president who's clearly in cognitive decline. You can see it on his face, and he had to withdraw because no one within his own party had confidence. And this man, well, he has a finger on the nuclear button. And today, he has given Ukraine carte blanche. I'm not saying today exactly as of today, but just a few days ago, escalating this matter. The United States president is becoming a danger for the rest of the world. How is he doing this? Who is giving him the authority if he's in cognitive decline? Why can't Trump just come in and say, sorry, buddy, your time is up. You can't be taking these decisions. Who's going to stop him?
Well, the U.S. Constitution says that for better or worse, our president is our president until noon on Inauguration Day. That's the way it works. Obviously, Biden is clearly in cognitive decline, or else he would have run for re-election through November 5th. This is not a new issue. Obviously, the stakes here are very high. I would encourage people across the world to be concerned, but not paranoid. Paranoia helps Vladimir Putin. When Putin talks about his nuclear doctrine, Putin alone wrote it, and Putin alone can put it into the shredder. It is a propaganda tool, plain and simple. I would not listen to what Vladimir Putin has to say. He has rattled the nuclear saber since even before his
Mr.
troops
Dan, I mean, let me bring in Mr. Chileni on this point. I mean, look, you have your views, but I feel that Putin is being pushed constantly from the beginning of this entire episode, on the 1001st day back in time.
Rahul, the West has crossed Putin's red lines one after another. Now, Putin has seen another of his red lines being crossed. Now, the West can dismiss this as more bluff, right? They can take that option and say this is more bluffing by Putin. But the danger is that Putin may be bluffing until he no longer is bluffing. He, after all, has to save his face. Given the fact that what has happened in recent days is an affront to him. So my concern is that these decisions to escalate the war have put Putin in a position where he has to respond. And if he responds in a manner that creates an escalatory cycle, then, of course, the world will be in danger. There could be a direct NATO-Russia war. And I think one other thing that we know often is obscured in the debate, especially in the Western media, is that it's not Ukraine that actually is able to fire these long-range missiles independently of the US or Britain or France. The fact is that some months ago, the German Chancellor Olaf Scholz let the cat out of the bag when he unintentionally exposed the covert Anglo-French-American involvement in the war by declaring that Germany will not participate in such quote-unquote target control. He revealed that these other countries, the US, France, and Britain, were involved in controlling targeting through the supply of such missiles, because these missiles depend on US navigational data and satellite reconnaissance capability for targeting. So in fact, Scholz received a lot of flack for
letting the cat out of the bag. But what is really funny, Mr. Dan, is that this satellite data is being provided by Starlink. Musk to Ukraine. He stepped in when the Russians disabled the entire sort of telecommunications satellite linkages over Ukraine. He stepped in and gave Zelensky the keys, really, to Starlink. Now, Musk can turn it all off within a minute if he wants.
Without question, he can. Whether or not he will, I don't know. But obviously, Elon Musk did step in and provide a great service to Ukraine when those communications nodes were disabled during the full-scale Russian invasion. Again, I have to look at what Putin has said consistently during these 1,000 days of conflict is that Western involvement, that was a red line. Then the F-16s, they were a red line. Now these long-range missiles, they are a red line. Unfortunately, I don't want to continue the cards metaphor too far because these are very serious issues that we're dealing with. But usually, when you're bluffing in poker, it's because you have a bad hand. Vladimir Putin knows that in a direct confrontation with the West, he will lose. Vladimir Putin knows that if he takes that step, there's a possibility that he and his family can die in a sea of fire. If he remains a rational actor, he will not approve nuclear use, although these steps that have been made by the outgoing lame duck Biden administration are certainly concerning.
Viewers, I don't know which way this is going to go, but we are very close to a serious problem, and we just can't wish it away. Someone needs to step in. Biden is doing us no favors. I'm talking about the world at large. Trump needs to get in there sooner than later. Or it might be too late, quite frankly. I'll leave it at this, viewers. I'll leave it at this. Lots more coming up on The Vantage with Palki Sharma.
Co-powered by
I didn't mean to startle you.
We had some trees come down and a lot of things blew around, but we did okay.
Yeah.
Nothing major.
boy, did Mother Nature get a freak on last night. It was pretty gusty. I mean, it was to the point where it sounded like a freight train going through when it came, and you could just see those trees bending pretty well. Even the stalwart, sturdy trees were going pretty good on the side, you know, being blown over. So lots of branches falling everywhere, smaller branches, hopefully not too big of branches, but you didn't want to be out in it.
So yeah, we live like a few blocks away from here. The wind like started like slowly, just a little bit, and then just right after 5, 6, and then we started like hearing, and then we live in like an apartment complex. So you actually felt, you know, the movement and the windows just like, you know, like bouncing. And I just, you know, seeing the landscape changing just because of the wind, just for a few hours, is just, you know, it's, you know.
Hello, namaskar. This is First Post and you're watching Vantage with me, Palki Sharma. Ukraine continues to fire missiles into Russia. First the American ATACMS, then the British Storm Shadow. In response, Moscow is said to have launched an ICBM. Long story short, this war is escalating. The question is why now? And what is each side aiming for? We'll discuss that tonight. Also under fire is India's Adani Group. American prosecutors have filed a case against them for bribery and fraud. We'll bring you the details. China is bracing for Trump tariffs and basically trying to be friends with everyone else to cushion the blow. Bitcoin is flying higher than Elon Musk's rockets. Should you invest now? Why is the US government trying to break up Google? They've asked the company to sell Chrome. Why is China holding anti-terror drills with Pakistan? No, this is not a trick question. What's with the Zomato job offer that does not promise a salary and does not require a resume? How the cutting of 2 cables in the Baltic Sea has spooked Europe. Why a banana taped to a wall has sold for more than $6 million. And why manifest is the word of the year. All this and more coming up. The headlines first. The International Criminal Court issues an arrest warrant for the Israeli Prime Minister, charges Benjamin Netanyahu with war crimes and crimes against humanity. A furious Netanyahu calls the decision anti-Semitic. ICC also issued warrants for former Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant and slain Hamas leader Mohammad Deif. More violence in Pakistan's Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province. Gunmen opened fire on passenger vehicles. More than 35 people killed and many others injured in the 2 attacks. It is believed to be part of the sectarian conflict between the Shia and Sunni tribes, but no group has claimed responsibility for the attacks yet. Bangladesh's former Prime Minister Khalida Zia makes a rare public appearance. It's her first one in 6 years. Zia attended a reception to mark the country's Armed Forces Day. In 2018, she was jailed for corruption. Zia was released in August this year after Sheikh Hasina's ouster. Mali's junta chief fires the country's civilian prime minister, replaces him with a military officer. The civilian premier was sacked after he criticized the junta. Mali has been led by the military since back-to-back coups in 2020 and 2021. The junta has promised to hold elections, but it keeps delaying it. Rich nations reject the COP29 draft. Negotiators are now racing back against the clock to broker a $1 trillion deal to help poorer nations tackle global warming. The UN Climate Summit is supposed to conclude tomorrow, but it is almost certain to run into overtime.